timing right with the med kit. Didn't work out here in game number 1, but if there's any team that I'm concerned about after a less than ideal game 1, these guys are probably at the bottom of that list.
Yeah, and the beauty of it is, like, if it does work out, imagine zone pulls across the mountain, they go through the tunnel, they save all those mats, and then they win the game. We're all sat here going, Queasy, go IGL, oh
Genius.
my God, Giga Brain, wow, you know? So it happens sometimes, unfortunate there.
Well, it does mean we get to see the Giga Brain playing at least another game tonight. And we also get to see Mr. Savage in the top 10 mini miner.
Yeah, nice start from them. I know Mr. Savage there was sort of clutching up at the end. It was a little bit of a duo clutch from both of Chap and Savage, but I was really impressed with how they were sort of fragging out in these layers. Mr. Savage in particular just doing so much damage. And I just love watching Savage, the way that he edits, the way that he moves around in these endgames, Levin. Such a pleasure to watch. And he just managed to stick on for so long there. Quite unfortunate, actually. It was this knock right here, which I was really impressed with. Unfortunate to go down in the end, because that would have been a huge refresh for him.
Well,
honestly, I agree. Sorry, yeah, no, spot on, mate. Honestly,
spot on. 200 IQ analysis at least. We're gonna head to game number 2 now, so let's head back to Taco and Takata for some 1000 IQ casting.
Thank you. I don't know if we're Mr. Savage, we're missing a bit of IQ, but after that game 1, with how that storm played out, that zone, I'm excited to see how the rest of them pan out. I mean, 5 matches to be played out. It's kind of insane how quickly they go, and the leaderboard is not really what I would have expected after a game 1, but you know, Taco, anything can happen in the first match of the day, so we'll see how it continues to play forward.
Yeah, 5-lobby format. Now's not the time to be getting too pressed over whether or not your favorite team got a strong start. While it's great to start off on the right foot, you never know what can happen coming up next in game 2.
So in terms of the map, Gabix, Waze, and Clown, we're kind of on the south split by splitting pins. I'm not really quite sure who is going to end up taking that spot, if anyone. But there's still quite a few contested trios on the map. I know in terms of Pump Power, Mongrel did end up getting the upper end of Pump Power off the spawn, but later on they did have some troubles in that late mid to end game. Still got 4 matches to fix it up, but it looks like
hey,
an uncontested Canyon.
Part of the switch, I mean, off the mini-map drop, it looked as if 2 teams had actually moved in to that southern section of the map that Gabix, Waze, and Clown just won from. And that's gonna leave things a little bit more opened up for some of these other teams. I can't fault it though. If you don't win the first lobby of the off spawn, sometimes it's just better to take your odds elsewhere. And Mongrel, Keto, Hydro, just waiting to see whether or not they get into things against JoshBot's team, but this contest at Pump Power, it could really shift either direction, Takata.
Yeah, we saw how quickly the third party did kind of come into Pump Power though, so gotta be ready as both trios are kind of getting their own section of the drop. But Sato, on the other hand, right into the action, taking down a full trio right off the bat.
And this is what a lot of teams would definitely want to do if they're looking to have like full control of a hot drop here at Outpost. Sato and Karma, this is a very easy cleanup with their teammate, and 3 eliminations that early on. Takata having the luxury of now just getting to focus exclusively on your loot path and early rotates, maybe even catch some of these other teams off guard. And jump in to be the third-party issue.
Back on over to Supernova Academy. In the last match, this was a prime location for players rotating through. So for the trio that ends up, well, trios that end up dropping here, it's another situation if you don't want to take too long. So far, I don't see any eliminations, but there definitely has been some tags.
Just not enough for everyone. Eventually, something's going to have to pop off when you have that many teams surrounding each other at Supernova Academy, but a little bit more freedom to move around. Savage, Chap, Reason, Uncon still at Resistance Base. And we saw Savage doing what he could in the last lobby, dealing with that mountain zone, but I like the fact that Pump Power now, Mongrel's team, trying to come to a decisive outcome here. Getting scrappy. Keto knows Club is low, but Mongrel lost his shield, so they don't want to jump in just yet. So Joshbot, Shixi, they're going to be able to provide a little bit of backup here now.
Mini-map, you see another 2 players roaming on in. Soon to be a full trio. This is where you have to have someone always kind of looking in their surroundings. I mean, the whole trio should be constantly aware of if that third party's getting close, especially if the fight staggers longer. But Kaido knows one of his opponents is cracked. Just one good shot could be enough for the knock, but they end up getting 3-2-1. Kaido gets knocked down. Mongrel now left as a duo, forced to disengage. With 0 mats to his name, just gotta hope they aren't too quick.
This is easily worst case scenario now for Haijo and Mongrel. Not only are they sent packing in 2 separate directions, but Haijo, he's not even out of the action. He might still get caught up here in the crossfire of this third-party intervention. Scary Sean, Voldy forward, taking up a position on the high ground, and we've already scouted at least 1 surge base off in the distance. But that's the least of their worries for right now.
Yeah.
They're still trying to see whether or not they can do something about the trio that's still underneath them.
And with the trio underneath them is they've already farmed up all the materials they could. No spare heals, so they're just kind of waiting for the tree outside. If they want to play aggressive, they can go for it, but seems like nothing more is going to happen from this brawl.
Still leaves Mongrel in such an awkward position. Queasy, Swizzy, and Merstache, very familiar sights. Watching them, see if they can establish at least 1 elimination or 2. Mappy continuing to get tagged up here. But Merstache also receiving a few counter blows there. Has to be a bit of a cautious approach. That Rift Island might just be the focal point for both of these teams, though. And so, really just want to see whether or not Queasy decides to commit to making a play for it. It certainly seems like they're trying to set up to play defense there.
Yeah, I mean, with the Medallion and the Mythic AR, it's definitely worth it to take those fights, as now. And in the Storm fight, seems like another potential 3-2-1 third party from Noms and his trio here, just waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Sometimes you kind of want to wait until the action actually fully begins. A lot of box fights are kind of back and forth, looking for angles, but once that connection hits and once they start fully pushing in, could be the perfect moment to kind of strike as a third party. You don't want to wait too long, though, as you might run out of time.
Everybody definitely feeling a little bit of pressure here now. It is still the early storm tick damage, so it's nothing to be too panicked over, but the way that Trix is looking around, it's so obvious. They do not feel comfortable, as if this isn't being pretty much watched. It's almost like when you can tell that somebody's looking at you, but like you don't know who just yet. Finally, Karma gonna open up that wall and immediately be reminded why he needs to just burrow back in with the rest of his team. A lot of shield resources being used from both sides currently, and it's the light heals too that both of these teams seemingly in need of. Noms, Mystic, slowly, and they are slowly but surely continuing to get this wraparound, but neither side really willing to budge. This has been such a huge stalemate, though, and so much material used from both sides. It's kind of just left both of these teams a little bit worse for wear.
Yeah, I mean, they got their damage, I guess, but at the same time, was it worth what it costed? I mean, as long as both trios are kind of up and running, depending on how the zones pull, they should be able to make it back.
Good pickups, though, from Nebs. Getting a chance to review a little bit of the kill switch revolver accuracy. Nice chase down there, thanks to the dashes off of the dash sprite, but Nebs and Kiro, they were on a rescue mission. Bring Pink back into this one. 3 revives pulled off in a singular game. That's a pretty clean record. And now that they've got their IDL Pink back, though, that's bound to extend their opportunities here in game 2.
Yeah, I'm wondering what that's coming from being uncontested. Issue is when you're at a drop spot, like they are at the top corner of the map, and the zone does pull kind of almost southwest, it can be a very difficult rotate, causing you to go down a bit. I drop, Cammy, and Hari doing what they can to play it a bit safe while they look for their tags. It's a plus of Shining Spans, the amount of elevation you can actually get in vision, but when there's not a lot of trios rotating through, it kind of limits your options, and I drop spending a good amount of time in zone here.
I drop maybe even surprised that he hasn't actually spotted anybody from that position. Especially because of what you just said, Takata. We saw so many of the zones, even throughout yesterday's action, head south, but first off, got to see what happens with Veno, Vico, and Flixie. They are still all together, but similar to fashion, the first lobby, it looks like they are just hunting down their Surge, constantly getting tangled up in some of these early engagements, and it's not like they're not trying to pick the fight, and for good measures, Veno, that opening elimination now onto Shixie. 2 intact already for this trio, and they still want to see if they can figure out where the last one's at. But if they manage to stay together, Takata, it definitely makes some magic happen.
Yeah, Shixie can't catch a break. I feel like he's been hiding more than looting in these past 2 matches from those off-spawn fights. Kinda rumbles your whole game from the start. Tricks, Floki, Box, edge zone. You can see kind of the mini-map, those 4 different players just eyeballing them as they're going to be forced to rotate up now. Might be even safer just right along the side of the zone instead of going straight in.
Wow, still haven't found a solid conclusion yet to the action at Pump Power. New teams just keep rolling in, and now it's Akira, Kurama, and Werex up against the likes of Veno, Vico, and Flixie. Both of these teams on kind of opposite ends now on the POI, but Kurama just tunneling overhead, looking down. Maybe thinks that he knows exactly where a couple of members from Veno's team are at, but has no reason to immediately challenge this trio. If they can apply some pressure, sure, they'll go for it, but they also want to make sure that they keep looking back just in case any teams have the intentions of wrapping around for dead side. They don't want to find themselves getting flanked.
Yeah, looking at Kira's loadout too, he had an incredible amount of minis. It looks like they just want to play it safe to maintain their spot on the leaderboard, not risk kind of fighting for Surge. Pink, on the other hand, the quick elim. Oh, whoa. What happened here? Look at the amount of eliminations this trio already has. 3rd zone. They're getting closer and closer to double digits, and it looks like Mongrel is going to be on the receiving end as Kiro doing what he can to escape. Good news is 6 medkits. Bad news, you even have enough time to pop one. Barely gets it off, and now the hunt begins.
Mongrel's got absolutely nowhere left to run. This is almost like delaying the inevitable. He could play spoiler potentially for Kiro if Kiro's not careful. Needs a bigger tag than what he could be anticipating, but he knows Mongrel just doesn't have any HP. And Kiro, yeah, I like the fact that they're still playing this respectfully. Pink, Nebs, and Kiro are not looking to take any unnecessary risk, and even with Kiro understanding what kind of steep HP advantage he had, even knowing that it's Mongrel all by himself, he still gives his opponent that respect of, hey, I don't want to get too reckless and then get knocked, and then it feels silly because we're having to waste heals that we could have just saved.
All right, 8 eliminations now for the trio. Let's hope that they can chill a little bit, okay? Get your mats up, get your positioning right. Moppy with a quick knock. Looks like they were able to actually fully finish this fight out as Sado. Gonna be a little difficult. Similar situation to what Mongrel is in. Trying to escape as a solo.
Hey, take a look at Stormy right though, up on the mountain range. And he's got Ari, eye drop, Cammy potentially in his sights. So many of our teams, though, from these elevated spots, just not wasting any time, Takata. They're looking for the surge tags as often as possible, just remaining proactive with keeping above that threshold.
The Buell. Bexy and Pixovsky. Looks like they might be hunting or kind of trailing behind Mr. Savage. Trying to figure out based on the minimap where his trio actually is at the moment, but Pico, Veno, Flixie living up to what they always do in constant fights, constant engagements. The last match kind of put their whole game into shambles after one of them ended up getting eliminated. So hopefully this time around, they can stay up as a trio.
This is where they flourish, though, is in these close-up and personal engagements. But Veno trying to maybe reconsider whether or not he wants to swerve off so aggressively from the rest of his team. Other trios in the area definitely taking note, sending some shots in, and Veno, Flixie, they're not playing the side-by-side. They trust that Vico can hold his own if necessary, but they don't want to, why chance it? Let's just play together. Let's just heal back up. They knew that they were having to also absorb a little bit of damage from that third party. And for Akira and Karama, Werex, this might be the little moment of relief that they were kind of hoping for, because Veno, Vico, Flixie, they're gone.
Yeah, the good news is, too, is if they're able to get damage here, the zone is pulling by Supernova on the north side of the map, so they will have the uncongested side as all the trios will be rotating from the south. So as long as they're able to get enough damage onto these trios, they shouldn't have to put too much risk into their match. Merstache Swizzy, though, left as a duo now on the opposite end of the map, full south. They're going to have to the difficult rotate this time around.
That's definitely a tough break. Losing Queasy and Vox, delaying it just long enough. But for Mustache and Swizzy, certainly a duo that could play for the reboot, even though it's late. They might still be able to pull it off. Mappy and Cheatin also facing a casualty there with Trexer, but despite their teammate having been eliminated, Mappy going strong with those 3 eliminations of his own. Still going to keep their surge threshold intact, that's for sure. Give them much more leeway, even if they choose to just commit to playing this game as a duo.
Seen a lot of duos so far, as you'd expect when the level is this high for Group 3. Pixovsky now from trailing to being 862 above. With the amount of materials they have, honestly, they're in quite a good position. But it seems like they're hungry for more. Right into the box with the pre-edits, and it worked out perfectly as they're able to secure a quick knock now. With just one more opponent trying to do what he can to escape in the misform. Just one quick shot could be enough to finish this one.
Quota doing everything they can to try and see if they can slither away, but that's not going to be the case. Vexy, Devule, and Pixovsky will manage to close in, but Scary Sean just tucked away, hidden. The third party also starting to roll up onto their position. Trouble for the Frenchies now. Podesai, X-Squeeze. They don't have Artsville next to them. They're tackling Stormy Radion, Zarb. But even with the numbers against them, Takata, it's not going to be easy to leave this position unless they probably do just have to fight their way through this. They could still even the score here. They've got a good amount of healing resources. Just a couple of different angles, and they might be able, if Stormy Radion or Zarb get a little bit too greedy with how they choose to push this duo, Podesai and X-Squeeze could definitely turn this around.
Yeah, the good news is, well, depending on how long they take to rotate, it shouldn't be too tough. They'll have a lot of materials to kind of recycle from the trios that have already rotated along that edge zone, but they will be looking back, as this trio is going to be aware of, but seems like right now it is just going to be a waiting game.
One thing I'm definitely noticing is that Stormy Red and Zarb, they didn't have any kind of mobility in their loadouts. So no misforms means that they're gonna have to put a pause in that fight with X-Squeeze and Podesai. X-Squeeze and Podesai, since they are the duo, they are just going to trail towards that backside of zone, but a couple shots, not going to be able to connect there onto Radion. They'll take the scenic route now overhead. Podesai still putting a little bit of pressure onto their back tarp, and Zarb, Radion, a little bit confused now on what's happening next, but Podesai bites off more than he can chew. He's gonna get knocked. He has to wait now to see if X-Squeeze can make something happen here, but he's shut down. One of our French teams eliminated, but that has alerted the rest of the lobby to exactly where Radion, Stormy Red, and Zarb are rotating through, and since they are the last ones, Veno and Flixie, they don't want to let them through.
Wow. Although Podesai got hit with the 1-2, still respect the confidence, committing. They knew they had to go for something there. Meanwhile, Vico and Flixie decided to kind of disengage from that initial fight that we saw previously. Do not want to risk going down once again, and it has caused them to be below, but now they're able to kind of safely secure these tags. And not only that, once again, they end up pulling that 7th zone here. I think what I'd want to do is elevate myself a little more, and then they're going to have all those angles for the trios rotating on in. That they can quickly capitalize on.
Despite everything, though, they are under surge. This has been one of our most aggressive teams throughout this secondary match, Takata. We've seen them constantly trying to force these box fight engagements, but nobody wants to play their game. And so now they're stuck 120 below surge, burning through some of their chug jug. Might catch a break here on Stormy Red's team, but Flixie has been knocked. Veno and Vico, they're going to try to play for the double revive. Nobody's going to press them just because they do already have prime real estate for their positioning, but they need tags and they need it now. Every second they spend healing is a second that they miss out on potentially doing damage to somebody else. They've managed to cut the gap. It's only 67 below now. Literally 1 or 2 shots can confirm it, but nobody has enough HP to continue peeking. It's all down to Vico. At this point, Veno only has a handful of seconds left. And Stormy Red's team, they're starting to pull up. They're starting to recognize maybe this is a trio that's actually in a world of trouble here. As Vico, Veno, they don't have a choice. They're going to have to fight now. The threshold has dropped entirely too low. And as a duo even, you need risk for game-winning moments. Veno, he's just sending it up against the likes of Stormy Right. Tackling one side of their wall, Vico on the other, but Veno has been knocked. It's all down to the young fragger Vico.
Whoa.
But even this is the odds too heavily stacked against. Maybe Vico can turn this around. He's looking to play spoiler now, but he's not going to get that chance. He's been brought down. Radion, Stormy Right, very happy to reap the benefits of those loot llamas coming their way.
I had faith. I'm not going to lie. I saw the vision. But Storm Surge did get the best of them. 2 games down. We'll see if Vico Venoflixie can get one of their big games here shortly. But another big trio that we have high expectations for. Queasy, Swizzy, Murstache. This game looking quite well so far.
It's crazy, though, when you really think about some of our veteran teams, and they can still struggle with staying above the current search threshold and this competitive meta. Kiro, Nebs, Pink, they don't have to worry about that, though. 569 above. The only thing that's worrying them right now is where Reason, Savage, and Chap actually choose to go next. Want to keep a firm overview on those teams that were elevated towards hype, but Chap, Reason, Savage, all they want is front side, and they're gonna get there no problem, but Reason looks like he only has 1 dash left, and that'll be it for his mobility.
Cammy and Pink, both trios now kind of battling for that elevated position, going back and forth. Stormy Right has to be careful if his teammates have been cracked. They have more than enough damage, but the battle for height continues. The 2 towers fighting against each other. As iDrop said, I'm going to take over. Dashes onto his opponents, claims that high ground, and now, depending on where this 9th zone pulls, could be a miracle. As they do end up getting a pretty good pull here. Will, Pink, Nebs, and Kiro give it up, though.
It's also funny to me the way that iDrop just casually connects there. Ari and Cammy just looking to spray some of these teams underneath them. Pink, Nebs, Giro, they're waiting for the full distractions to come through before they make their move on a height challenge. And in the low ground, Swizzy, Queasy, and Merstache have no idea of the players inside the cone. And Kyrie pulls it off, but it's a short-lived victory as he does finally go down. The moment that they pop out of the cone, Merstache, Swizzy, Queasy, probably a bit of a jump scare there for them.
Yeah.
Still find one elimination though.
Came into play, good little cover. As the Buell is going to be leading the pack front side of zone here. Chap, Reason, Savage, nice shots coming through, forced to pump the Chug Jug, 184 below. They have a bit of time, but with a full trio running into the box, they have to be careful. As now backing up into their tart. Good use of staying together. Chemistry looking high.
Trying to make a replay refresh in the low ground though. You don't want to find yourself getting smothered. Hero, Nebs, Pink. They've been sitting pretty for a hot minute, waiting, letting the lobby kind of thin itself out. Cammy, Hari, Eyedrop still tarping overhead. And Nebs, he is incredibly hurt. We'll get a little bit of breathing room though to use that Chug Jug, but scattering up, down, and all around. Swizzy, Queasy, and Merstache have taken their stab at height, but Merstache, he has lost so much HP for it. Cammy, Hari, Eyedrop, they immediately look to Chop, and one more time, they resurface to the high ground.
What a perfect moment to look for the retake. They saw that the zone pulled far. They were holding on from it to the start. It was the perfect moment to strike, but Cammy, Hari, and Eyedrop, they were able to hold on. Will they go for a second? Merstache, Queasy, Swizzy going for part two. Will they end up coming out victorious in this end as Eyedrop has been knocked? Swizzy gets the elimination. Could be enough to hold on.
That's the real differentiating factor. Merstache was low, but he was never knocked. He was never eliminated. And so now Swizzy, Queasy, Merstache doing what they do best, just suppressing everybody underneath them. Cammy gonna fold to the pressure inside of the lower layers. And from the high ground, Swizzy, Queasy, and Merstache stand strong. It doesn't look like anybody's gonna have the opportunity to try and tackle them at height. They still want to stay ahead. They still want to keep tabs, keep a hold on this front side high. Reason, Chap, Savage though, gotten a really nice refresh there onto Karama, but they can't keep it up. Axe-Force, Nathan, Swizzy, Queasy, Merstache, their HP is just melting, but CZP, that elimination, that's a lifeline there for Swizzy.
500 mats back into Swizzy's pocket as now once again they have a chance to go back up. Issue is they need to spend a bit of time to heal, and while they're healing, another full trio misformed to the sky as the battle continues, and just like that it's been overthrown once again as Nathan is forced to drop down. Axe-Force gets knocked down, leaving Nathan as a solo.
High ground has been fully compromised. Chap, Reason, you just got to ball out in these lower layers. Chap going to continue dropping as the zone pulls over the cliff face. Big eliminations, though, for Merstache, just keeping the ball rolling here for his trio. Swizzy also finds another, but Merstache, he's finally going to be collected. Paul Atreides underneath, hiding out. Nathan not going to get the elimination blow there that he needs, but Paul, he takes down Chap. That's disastrous for Savage and Reason. Swizzy still overhead.
How is he
doesn't
on
have a
high?
whole lot of health, but he has 3 builds to Kata. That might just be enough. He still has the misform too.
This is the difference from Swizzy, Queasy, and Merstache. They went for height 4 different times, and in the end, Swizzy is still up above. Reason with just 8 HP. How is he going to be able to make this happen? Misform now used. Focus, Swizzy. A couple big shots could be all it takes as Nathan looking for an angle. Reason goes down. It's now a 1 versus 1. Swizzy versus Nathan. Initial shot gets connected, and Swizzy somehow manages to take it home as a solo.
I don't think anybody was ever concerned